Okay, guys, it's 2 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Thanks, everyone, for being here today. Appreciate your time. Any additions to the agenda that you have in front of you? Okay. Assuming that's a no. Approval of the previous meeting minutes from the September meeting. Thank you, sir. Second. Thank you very much. Board member comments?
Just thank you for your commitment and time for the community. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate that. Anybody else? Okay. Tom?
We had a very enjoyable time on Sunday with the Fly Tires appreciation event. I was kind of surprised that they let Kevin attend it, but you know. But other than that, no, it was a good time. The band sounded like they were pretty good, and the beer was flowing. So we very much appreciate our partnership with the Fly Tires, and we hope that we are able to demonstrate our appreciation to the Fly Tires.
Thank you. Yep, absolutely. Okay, I'll turn it over to Rick Eccles.
Okay, got quite a few notes here. Just as I've been doing for the last several months, we'll go over the Lake Norwood drawdown. No, we haven't actively started that. It's Mother Nature. We're down about 2.5 feet already, which is almost halfway of where we need to be. But that will officially start on November the 4th and conclude on March the 3rd. Hopefully by then we will be out of this dry pattern and the lake will come back up. We do have quite a bit of dredging work that needs to happen at the back of the lake, and it will also allow us to put in some fish habitat, some spawning habitat for bluegill and that kind of thing. That lake is incredibly steep-sided, so we're going to create some flatter areas where we can get some better spawning of bait fish. So, and we'll get a lot of bang for our buck there because it's a smaller lake and we can really make a difference. Our POA Rangers had 5,859 contacts for the month of September. 83 folks removed, which is actually pretty low in comparison. 423 contacts by boat and 121 hours on the water. That compares to the month of August where we had 8,700 folks that we had contact with, and the September of 2023 was 3,400. So 5,800 this September, 3,400 last September. So that's a pretty big jump there. So folks are out enjoying the lakes. We're getting better compliance with the work barges. We've had issues with, we don't want to discourage any kind of improvements to docks and that kind of thing, but it was getting to the point where construction folks were taking mooring opportunities that should have gone to our membership. So no more overnight mooring at our courtesy areas, and we're getting better compliance with that. So grounds maintenance, our lake fertilizations are complete for the year. It's just getting too late to see any benefit for that, so that's curtailed until next spring. We did rebuild our work barge, and we've got a new winch on it, so we have been back at removing trees from the previous storm last week and this week. We have a few more to go, but things are going well there and we're getting caught up. The Avalon heated dock got the interior area got waterproofed today. The outside will take a couple more days, and then we plan on moving to some of the other docks around the POA. Let's see, some old business there. I'm not sure if we reported this last time, but the sea dock at the marina has been repaired. It was repaired last time as well, but what I wasn't sure about was the electricity. It is now restored, if you didn't know already. Let's see. And then getting into our fisheries and lakes ecology, we were doing our lake and stream sampling today for our water quality work that we do. And we did, the guys did notice brittle naiad and coontail in a couple of the creeks. And so those are the beneficial plants that we want to have back in the lakes. So we're going to bring those in and kind of keep them in quarantine in tanks over the winter. If we don't have any unintended hitchhikers by spring, those will go into the exclosures that we're building and the Arkansas cubes and try to get some vegetation started in the spring. We'll continue to do the grass carp removal in conjunction with that. And hopefully by next year we'll have some vegetation established. I have rainbow trout scheduled for delivery in early November. We'll double check lake temperatures as it's pretty warm right now, but it's looking like we're going to cool off next week, so that should be timed about right. We've wrapped up with our spraying of water willow. Of course, on Lowman, that is the only vegetation we have, and we like it where folks can tolerate it, but we do spray areas where it's impeding people's docks and swim areas and that kind of thing. But that's complete for the year. We'll start our fall sampling of largemouth bass next week on all the lakes, and then followed up pretty shortly thereafter with some netting for some of the panfish that we don't get that many of in our electrofishing samples. Let's see here. Went over that. Also next spring, in order to speed up the recovery of our largemouth bass and the quality of those fish, we of course still encourage the removal of as many small fish as someone's willing to take. But also we are stocking, we have a proposal to stock 8 loads of threadfin shad next spring. That is a $19,600 commitment. Of course, that's dependent on approval for in our 2025 budget that happen. That should buy us some time to start improving the quality of our bass while our vegetation is getting established, which will then provide the nursery habitat for our existing bluegill. And
so how are those going to be distributed? Are we going to focus on 1 or 2 lakes, or is that going to be?
That's going to all go to Lowman.
All go to Lowman?
Yes.
Okay.
That's where we need a certain threshold to see any benefit. We could spread those 8 loads up among all of our lakes, and it may not move the needle. We're trying to concentrate on our lake where we have our highest fishing pressure, especially by those that are more into quality fishing over just, it's all recreational fishing, but when you fish off of your dock with your grandkids, that's kind of a different kind of a thing. So
And that would be in the spring next year?
March, April next year, and the idea would be that they would provide an immediate source of food for the largemouth, but that they would also themselves get at least 1 spawn off during the season, and then their offspring would then provide food as well going into the fall. There's no guarantee that they will overwinter, because we're at the very northern extent of their range. In fact, we tried once before in the early 2010s, and I think John recalls that on Lake Windsor they made it through 1 winter, but not after that. And you just need a few to make it through, because they spawn so much the next spring that
So a mild winter
mild winter gets you through.
Gets us
The
through.
last couple winters that we've had where we've been below 0, likely not. So.
And another question, I don't want to derail your train of thought, but the water willow, does that die off in the winter?
It dies back, but the stobs are still present. if it gets cold, it'll definitely die back to the surface of the water. But then it comes back pretty quickly in the spring.
And then one other question, so we know that Brittany's low in Norwood. I've noticed seems like a slight lowering of Lomond and Windsor. Are those lakes struggling to maintain level at this time also?
Windsor still has a bit of an overflow. Lomond, I haven't been there to look at the dam. It's getting pretty low. But during normal times, when you've got overflow going over the spillway, that's 2 to 4 inches of water. And so we can lose a couple inches and still have water leaving the lake. So unless you're talking about, 6 inches or more,
It's probably just lowering down to that threshold.
just to that threshold.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other lakes are low right now besides?
Brittany, of course, Brittany and Norwood. Avalon has just very little water coming through. And they're all going to be suffering going forward.
Okay.
Until we get rain.
Until
Till
we get
rain.
Rick, one question.
Yes.
How many units in a load? How many fish in one of those
So
loads?
we did some calculations before we came. 8 loads should be around 60,000 individual fish, and it's going to vary a little bit depending on the size of the fish when they load the trucks, because they load based on weight, not on numbers.
And we can't
Thanks.
raise these, right?
Well, we're gonna put a few of those in our aquaculture ponds and at least get them through the summer and stock them in the fall. If we can house a few in tanks over the winter, we'll do that too. But I've not ever tried to raise those myself, so we'll see.
What I've asked Rick and John to do is see if we can get more aggressive with our budget, see if we can allocate more resources, such as what he's talking about, this additional expenditure, to benefit us. It does have to go through the board, so we can't speak for the board. It's got to go through the process, but we're going to try and dedicate additional resources. And if we're successful, there's a good chance that we'll be successful for a couple years in a row. And so that's what we're planning on doing. Rick and John developed a really good plan that they're going to implement into the budget, and so we're optimistic.
All right, that's what I have.
Okay. Any other questions for Rick on any topic?
I saw a little bit of work happening in Lake Ann at the boat ramp. Is that just a maintenance?
Yes, working at the ramp itself.
Yeah.
We have a leak at the fish cleaning station that we turned the water off the other day until we can get that fixed. Was it the dock or the ramp?
They were down by the dock,
Okay.
right at the ramp, that little, the little dock that's on to the
Okay. Likely replacing boards. Likely
Yeah.
replacing boards. That's pretty routine work.
Yeah, it was just that little dock area.
Any other questions, comments about anything that Rick covered? I'm pretty excited about the plan that you put into place, and let us know if we can do anything to move that along, because I think that's a big deal. The only other thing I have on the agenda is we usually combine the November and December meetings into one meeting. So do you guys have a preference for when we meet at the end? We usually do it at the end of November or beginning of December meeting. So does anybody have a preference on what day we meet in November? Anybody want to throw out a date? So Thanksgiving is the 28th. Do we want to meet Wednesday, December 4th? Tom, do you have a preference when you can be here, when you can't?
So we talked about December 4th would work fine. We just don't want to go further into December in case we decide to make any changes to the boat regulations because of the printing schedule and everything. But December 4th would be fine.
Does that work for the majority of people here, December 4th? Okay, so the next meeting will be December the 4th. We will not have a meeting on November 13th. So December 4th. And I'll try to send out a reminder so that we're all on the same page. Okay, let's go to open forum. You guys, please get to the mic and then state your name and.
Okay. My name is Pete Stamelli, and my wife Lori. We live in Bella Vista for over 8 years now. We love it. I'm on the lakes all the time fishing and golfing, and this is just an incredible spot. So I want to thank you guys for protecting what we have here. It's pretty special. The reason why we're here is the level of Lake Brittany. You know, over the last couple of years, I've seen it go down, but I've never seen anything like it is right now. We called to, just voice our concern last year, and then it was water at that point in time, I think. We expressed concern about some of the lake pumps. And then this year again, when the water is so low that we can walk across the finger in where we live, I believe my wife might have spoke to Ulrich, and you suggested we come, so we want to just voice our concerns. The lake is at a level that we've never seen. A little concerned because it's our value, but not only that, but it's just important to this community having the variety of lakes we have. So I wanted to just open it up to see, what's going on. Is there an issue with the dam? And I also wanted to address a concern that I have is there's a lot of lake pumps. I'm not quite sure they're standard in this community. People pumping water out of the lakes to water their yards. But in my neighborhood, 4 out of the 6 homes on the lake have lake pumps, and they're using it to water their yards when the lake is clearly down 5-6 feet.
The lake pumps, when it's this dry, I mean, every drop of water takes from the lake. We are in a dry spell that corresponds to the lake level. There's really nothing that has happened recently that would be responsible for the lake being this low, other than it's just dry. I mean, when I say that, nothing from the standpoint of something's different with the dam, or we've got a leak at a valve or something like that. There is a bit of seepage that occurs, and it's not that uncommon on the lakes to have that. We are going to reevaluate some of our maintenance and see whether there's anything we can do to slow that down over the next time period.
But Rick, correct me if I'm wrong, that lake has a very small watershed.
It does.
So basically, it has to rain on top of the lake to fill the lake. You
Exactly.
don't have a river coming in to feed it. Mm-hmm. So I want to make sure.
Yes.
The message is it's dry.
Yeah.
And we haven't had rain in quite a long time, and that's the answer.
Yeah, and it's dry at a time of the year that has more effect, because when it's warm, we have more evaporation from the surface of the lake and that kind of thing. Generally, lakes are designed to have 40 acres of runoff for every acre of lake to maintain good levels. And I don't believe Brittany has that. So that's the primary issue. And as far as pumps, there really hasn't been a permitting process for pumps. It's been something that has always been done. It's kind of been grandfathered. And I would assume as we're going into the cooler months that folks won't be watering as much going forward. But that is somewhat concerning.
Yeah, then my ask is 2 things. Just one, if there is an issue with the dam, that we consider it.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're saying it's not something new, that
It
just happened.
no.
But it seems like you guys are talking about the dam and the structure of the dam of all the lakes.
Yes.
Second is, I would ask, as a resident, maybe in our weekly or monthly letter that goes out, say, hey guys, lakes are down. Maybe we don't water our yard every day. And that would be my ask. I mean, I can go over and talk to my neighbor, but then it can become very contentious. Where if it's a plea from the board, just say, guys, you know, we all enjoy this, but we can't be pulling water out when we have historic lows.
We're all in this together.
Perfect. That's exactly why I just wanted to come and voice my concern. I've never complained. I love this place. But when I went kayaking the other day on Brittany, it was amazing. It was like, wow. You know, everyone can work on their seawall because you have 4 feet, you know, of room to walk, you know, around the docks. So I appreciate it. Thank you for taking our call. Rick, I really appreciate it. Thank you for addressing my wife's concerns.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I actually was on Loch Lomond, I think it was last week, and there was a truck that had backed up to one of the ramps and was sucking water out of the lake. And I asked Rick if it's something that, again, we don't really have a rule against that, I don't think, but
Well, you don't have a rule for it
we don't have a
either.
rule for it either. So it's kind of like, you know.
But the MAC location, we have a fill point in front of the building where businesses can come and fill their water tanks for whatever they're doing, power washing or whatever, and they pay a fee for that water. So
where is this?
it's at the 51 Huntley at our
Okay,
at our
at your
MAC
office area?
operations. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So we're trying to make sure that people don't go and use fire hydrants and so forth. Now, this is a lot easier way of them doing it, and we're charging them for it. So we just recently set that up 6 months ago.
Yes.
Yeah, so this truck I saw, he easily sucked 200 or 300 gallons out of Lowland just to fill the back of that truck, so.
Yeah, I'm glad you gave us a call.
Yeah, so if I see it again, I'll definitely let you know.
And we've been, the Rangers have noticed it a time or two and have asked them not to do that. So.
Okay, and if I had gotten close to them before they left, I'd have said, hey, do you mind if I ask what you're doing? But I didn't get that close to them, so I didn't.
We'd rather you call the Lake Rangers. We don't want to have an incident.
Yeah. Good
Is
point.
water rationing an option if this continues? I mean, instead, you know, people that have the pumps are the only guilty ones of taking the water continuously, but is that something that we as a joint advisory commission can advise the board to do
No,
in future?
I think the suggestion is spot on, and that we can put it in our newsletter and encourage people
Yeah.
to be concerned. We don't need a vote. I mean, it's a logical. I'm going to go back to, we're all in this together. Mother Nature is not providing us rain, so if we can limit the amount of water that we're pulling out, that's going to help. And then, but as indicated, the weather pattern is, while it doesn't include rain, it's cooler temperature, so one would think that they would slow down on the watering of their lawns and so forth.
Well, right now, I mean, it's too little too late for what's occurred now. But if this comes up again, if we don't get rain in spring, and people want to water their lawn, you know, you can ask, but people are just kind of, screw you, I'm gonna do what I want. And
There is that.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that now. So, you know, I just asked if that was an option.
I think that we should start with the awareness campaign.
True.
And see if that works. If the awareness campaign does not work, then we can always find a more persuasive methodology.
Some people need persuasion.
Yeah.
On a more positive note, I have lived on Lake Brittany for 22 years, and I don't remember a spring that it has not come back to full pool at some point.
Right.
Sometimes it takes longer than others, but every year it comes back, so all we need is rain. So anyway, just throwing that out there. Sir, do you have a comment or question? Okay, thank you. All right, anybody else, any topic before we wind up? I'm looking around the room, I'm looking at the board. Okay, and the next meeting is December 4th, this location at 2 p.m. Hope to see everyone there. Thank you very much. What is that ratio of acres to